What happened on the Nimitz?
What happened? I don't know if I can say what happened on the Nimitz, but I can tell you about the speeds and accelerations of the objects that they observed. The Nimitz encounter is interesting because you have different ways in which the tic-tac shaped objects were encountered. First, they were observed by Senior Chief Kevin Day, who was a radar operator on the USS Princeton in the Nimitz carrier group. They were located off the coast of Southern California at the time. And Kevin Day had been observing these objects on radar for, I think, a little around 2 weeks. They would drop in. They would appear on his radar at about 80,000 feet. That was basically the ceiling for his radar. Drop down to about 28,000 feet, and then they would cruise south along the coast at a very slow speed, around 100 knots or so 120 miles an hour, something like this. Which at 28,000 feet, there's not that much air, so an airplane can't fly at 100 miles an hour at that altitude. You fall out of the sky. So the speeds of these objects were way too slow, and that really bothered Kevin Day. He thought, these aren't just airplanes, these are strange things. And there were times when they would drop from the 28,000 feet height to sea level, and would do so in about 0.78 seconds. So it would take 3/4 of a second for it to go from 28,000 feet to sea level. That's about 5 miles of height.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
In 3/4 of a second.
Mm-hmm.
That's shocking. And I thought, well, that I can do something with. I know the height. I have some idea of what the errors are going to be. I don't know the precise errors of the equipment, but I can estimate what they probably would be. And I can give you an estimate for the speeds of and accelerations. And if you do that, the accelerations turn out to be about the minimum acceleration. So the minimum acceleration, there's two extremes that could happen. You could instantaneously accelerate to whatever speed you're going to travel, and then travel at that constant speed to the bottom, and then just instantaneously stop, right? In that case, I could calculate that speed. The other situation is that you would accelerate at a constant rate to the midpoint and then decelerate at the same rate to stopping at the bottom. And that gives you the minimum acceleration. And I thought, well, that's the most useful thing to estimate, because then I can confidently say these things at least had to accelerate at this rate. And we know this. I mean, it's indisputable. I mean, it'll be indisputable. So I thought this is the solid thing to calculate. And if you do this, that acceleration is about 5,600 Gs. Was the mean acceleration. So that's 5,000 times the acceleration of gravity.
Goodness.
People aren't going to survive this.
No.
People can't survive more than about 11 Gs for anything over a few milliseconds. Right. Our equipment can't survive this. An F-35 fighter will have its wings ripped off at about 13.5 Gs. Missiles can survive a bit higher accelerations. They can maneuver up to about 30 Gs, and the airframes can handle maybe 60 Gs, but that's it. I mean, but we're talking, these Tic Tacs were accelerating at minimum 5,600 Gs.
What does that tell you about the mass of these objects?
That it's not clear at all what's going on. You aren't going to be able to accelerate a physical object at those rates in the conventional sense, because you're just going to break all the equipment inside. You'll be destroying the craft, which clearly isn't happening. So that's so already very strange. So the point of the paper basically is to highlight that, given what was observed, this is clearly anomalous.
Yes.
We don't have an explanation for what's going on. The other main point is that if you're going to accelerate halfway and then decelerate, that means at the midpoint you're going to be moving at your highest speed. And you can estimate what that speed is, and that turns out to be about 45,000 miles an hour.
45,000 miles. Just a casual.
Now, our orbiting spacecraft, the space station orbits at about 17,000 miles an hour. So when the space shuttles would come in, or Apollo would come back in, after a trip to the moon, you're coming in around 17,000 miles an hour, and you're a fireball.
Right. Burning up. Yes.
Right? Fireball. Sonic booms, fireballs, the whole works, all the histrionics of the interactions with the air. The Tic Tacs weren't doing anything like this. There were no fireballs, there's no sonic booms, nothing. And then as a physicist, you worry about other things. Where does all this energy come from? How much power did it take to do this? Where did the energy go when it stopped? Energy doesn't, as it's moving, it's going 45,000 miles an hour at the midpoint, which, by the way, is the speed of the New Horizons probe that passed Pluto in 2015.
Oh.
That's moving 45,000 miles an hour. That's how fast the Tic Tacs were going, which is shocking. But where does that energy go? It should then, what is it? Half of 3/4 of a second later, 3/8 of a second later, it just comes to a dead stop. That energy had to go somewhere. We tried to estimate that energy. The Tic Tacs were estimated to be the size of an F-18.
Oh, okay. That's bigger than I thought.
We took the mass of the F-18 and then divided by a factor of 10. Say, let's pretend that the Tic Tacs were 10 times less massive than the F-18, just to get try to be a little more reasonable, because what's going on is shocking. And if you do that, the power it would have taken to make that maneuver was something like 1,300 gigawatts of power. That's way more than the nuclear power output of the United States.
What?
Yes. In the little Tic Tac the size of an F-18. Doesn't make any sense. How much energy got released when it stopped? That would have been about 250 Tomahawk cruise missiles going off at once. That should have been dissipated somewhere. The energy has to go somewhere.
Yeah, and we're seeing none of that.
You're seeing none of that. So these things are anomalous in many, many ways. The speeds and accelerations are anomalous. The lack of interacting with the air is anomalous. There's no sonic booms, no fireballs. The energy just seemed to appear and disappear. We don't know where the energy is coming from or going. This is not normal anything going on here.